welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we are going to talk about sibling love and family relationships and sometimes overcoming some pretty difficult hurdles. My guest is local author Onika Daniel. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
And also with us is Sanu Jang from Transitions, the battered women or domestic violence local regional agency. And we're going to explain how this all ties in. but Onika, let's start with you and this book you wrote about the Holiday Boys.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us why and how this is different than other sort of big brother, big sister books.
Well, this book was written during a time frame when I was experiencing some difficulties in my home, my relationship. So this book was written during a time when I needed an escape. So I was fantasizing about a family full of love, true friendship, brotherhood, happy families. And this is basically what that book is about, something that we can all relate to, which is true love, which is something that I was not experiencing at that time frame. So like I said before, this is basically a book about my escape. It's a tool that parents can utilize if they are introducing their families to a new baby.
And that's, what really made it different for me, because I remember a lot of those, I'm going to be a big brother kind of books, is that you have this section in the back where the parent talks to the child and asks for their feelings and how they want to behave in a certain situation or maybe what they could do. And so in addition to being a story, it's a little bit of a workbook.
Yes.
And then it's this wonderful memory that as a parent you get to keep about that moment in life.
Yes. Yes, I wanted it to be, like I said before, a tool, because sometimes kids don't really know how to express how they're feeling, so sometimes it's easier for them to write it down.
Well, see, you had an older kid. I mean, there was a bigger age gap between you two.
Extreme.
My older one couldn't have written anything, but it could have been that dialogue and a way to talk through feelings, because, a lot of times, as much as the child says, oh, I want a baby brother or sister, there's a lot of inherent conflict that happens with the attention and toys and possessions, and it's a big disruption in a kid's life and in a parent's life as well, of course.
Yes, definitely.
But so the book is really, in your mind, they're connected. But if someone reads the book, they don't have any of that background. It's just a great story and tool. Tell us, though, hold it up, and why is it called The Holiday Boys? Because I think that's, it's a title that's really meaningful to you, but it's it's not, so explain that.
Yes, well, basically it's about my two sons who were both born on holidays. The oldest was born on Halloween, and the youngest was born on April Fool's Day, which is why they're called the Holiday Boys.
So the story is, about the older child welcoming the younger child.
Yes.
So let's make that bridge now over to the other part of what we're talking about, which is what you were going through at the time.
Okay.
So, Onika, tell us a little bit, you don't have to give totally personal details, but about your story.
Well, when I wrote this book, I was in an unhealthy relationship. This relationship lasted for about 13 years. It started off with verbal abuse, and then eventually it grew to physical. So during that time frame, I used writing as a coping skill. So I would write stories fantasizing about, love and happiness.
Creating that family that you wanted to be on paper.
Exactly. And around the time frame when I was scared to actually come home, I knew that it was time for me to escape. Leave my home, make sure that my kids were actually going to be safe, because I didn't feel safe. And my oldest child at that time was starting to see things that he shouldn't see. So my mother actually went to a church seminar, and she met Sanu. She was doing a presentation on the services that she provides at Transitions Family Violence Services. And that's how her and I met, and I became a volunteer at Transitions Family Violence Services.
And a portion of the proceeds from your book, which is available on Amazon, go to the nonprofit.
Yes, they do.
So, Sanu, I don't know if I should even ask this, but a lot of moms in a violent situation at home don't always act in their own best interest, or don't feel like they can stand up for themselves or protect themselves or get out. But when they see it beginning to affect the children, we we as mama bears can get the courage, I think, sometimes. Do you see that?
We do. You know, after some time, mom is just in survival mode. I'm surviving. But when you see that your kids are starting to act out some of the same things that you're experiencing, or they themselves are perpetrating that violence towards you, that's when you start to think about, you know, am I creating a cycle of violence here where my son or my daughter could potentially be a victim or a perpetrator of this, and I don't like what I'm experiencing. I may love this person, but I don't like what's happening, so how can I protect my kids? And like you said, you go into kind of mama bear or even papa bear mode. We have men that bring their children to then say, I have to do something different. And if it's not enough for me, for my kids. And that's when we see them finally start to have a conversation with family or friends about what's happening, or engage in services with transitions to see what their options are.
How does being around an abuser, and really that can be, which I think is a really hard line for us to draw, but it can be verbal and emotional abuse.
Yes.
And certainly, I think if there's children, they may or may not witness physical abuse, but they're hearing a lot.
Absolutely.
How does that affect children, and what can we as parents or friends, you know, do about it?
Well, we see as early as when mothers are carrying their children, the effects of just the emotional abuse and the physical abuse, the stress that's happening. And then in their, you know, toddler stages, they can act out. As they're progressing developmentally, they can regress back to younger behavior. Now what we're seeing is children that are exposed to violence either in the home or experiencing child abuse, because there's a close correlation between domestic violence and child abuse. Them acting that out in school, and we're seeing it in the form of bullying. Kids don't know how to put down other kids and be physically abusive to other kids. So they're learning it from somewhere, and then they're taking it into the environment where they spend most of their time. So those are some red flags and indicators that something's going on with this child at home, and we need to have a conversation with them about, can you find the words, or maybe through art or through play, express to us what's happening so that we can help you, and then in essence help your parents.
What were the sort of red flags you saw in your older child?
Well, I noticed that he was starting to treat me like the abuser was starting to treat me. He was taunting me. Like when I would instruct him to do something, it was back and forth. It was arguing. He would not back down, in a sense, and he was only 8. So that was a huge red flag for me, because like I said, he started to act like the abuser. He was mimicking his behavior. So that right there let me know that he's starting to develop those characteristics. And I did not want him to continue to act out in that way, and possibly take it to school, you know, so I knew that I had to do something to stop it.
So how do we help kids heal and change so that the cycle doesn't keep going on to the next generation? What are some of the things you offer at Transitions?
Well, we sit down with parents and we have a conversation. We use an assessment tool, of course, but having a conversation about what has been your experience in the home and what has been the child's experience. We do that individually, but we do see the value in bringing the parent and the child together, because you can't fix one side of the equation without looking at the other. So we sit down and we create a plan, whether that's if that child is going to participate in our child enrichment program and get academic support by at the same time learning how to socialize with other kids in a healthy manner, deal with maybe some of the pent up anger that they've been lashing out on their siblings or maybe other kids at school. We offer art and play therapy. If you can't find the words to express what's happening and how that's making you feel, I'm always amazed at what kids are able to produce when they first come in, and then how the clouds have parted and the sun is shining at the end. Now that they understand that they are not responsible for the violence that happened in the home, that they're not alone in that, but this is not forever, and that there is life after experience or being exposed to abuse in the home. And then parents are able to participate in our support groups. And then during the art and play therapy sessions, we do bring the parents in to then show them what a healthy interaction between parents look like and their child, and supporting them through that and helping them move forward. And then we follow up and check in, and our case managers just go out in the home and see how things are going on, if they're being defiant slightly, how do you discipline your children in a healthy way and reward them in that too. So we try to do wraparound services with the family to kind of cover all the bases. So
you're saying not in every case does it need to be this complete break, that you can work with families to heal and stop the cycle now. Absolutely. Or you can work with the parent, who comes out of it and their relationship with the child.
Absolutely.
I imagine I'm going to be a little bit gender stereotypical here, but a lot of times a young male will imitate the adult male, and the younger female will kind of look to the mom for how she should respond. And so if you're in this situation where the male is the aggressor, you kind of see them taking that on. If there's, and you had both boys, but if you had a daughter, one of the stereotypical things might be to see her acting as a victim or becoming a victim, acting like you, not having self-confidence. So it's not, the same thing across the board. Or if it's the opposite, the male who is being bullied might take on that kind of characteristic. And so you have to really, I would think, look at what the kids have experienced, what their age is, and all those different factors.
And the dynamics, and they can go either way. I mean, we know that young boys that witness violence in their home are 80% more likely to perpetrate that same violence, unless there's some type of early intervention.
That is a huge statistic.
But it explains what we're seeing in our society and dysfunction, and when people are not able to talk about what has happened in their home and it's bottled up, and then they start to have relationships.
And I will say too, our boys don't talk. they hold those emotions in, and just helping them figure it out and express it is a huge gift. If they can learn how to deal with emotions in a verbal way or in any other way than with aggression, because I think there's a little bit of natural tendency anyway, and then if they're seeing it and mirroring it.
And I think Holiday Boys is just, like Anika said, is a great tool to allow kids to identify with their emotions and how they're feeling, and I've had the pleasure of meeting Anika's boys, and she exhibits, and that's what we encourage our parents to do, healthy communication with them, and not just do it because I said to do it, but this is why you have to do it, and do you have any questions about that, and engaging them in dialogue and conversation so that they always feel a part of what's happening, even though they couldn't control maybe what happened in the home at one time. Now we all have a little bit of control in how we're going to live out our life in the future, and we do that by communicating in a healthy way.
That's great. Okay, if someone is watching this and realizes that they're in a bad situation domestically, what should they do, Sanu?
So we have a 24-hour hotline. That number is 757-723-7774. We have a website that you can go on to, transitionsfvs.org. There's a if you're in an abusive relationship checklist, if you're not sure about some of the behaviors or red flags that's happening, you can even send an email and communicate with us that way if you can't get to a telephone. But that's the way, the 24-hour hotline, I mean, someone is always on the other line to take your call, to listen, whether you're a family member that's concerned or someone that is in an unhealthy relationship or just not quite sure what's going on, or it's been some time. And you need some help to kind of get through some things. We're here to help, and we're here to listen, and we're here to empower and provide the services that you want. It's not about us. It's about what we can do to help you achieve your goals and overcome the trauma that you might have experienced.
And I love that Anika's mom heard you speak at a church. And I think, so how also people might say, more people need to be educated about this. Let me bring you in. We can also reach you
We
that way
speak
also.
to everyone, churches, businesses, civic organizations, any opportunity that we can get the word about domestic violence, because we know that it affects us all. Whether we know someone that's experiencing it, or working with someone, or going to church with someone that's experiencing it, or we're just hearing it on the news. As a community, we're impacted, but it takes a community to end it, and we do that by speaking up about domestic violence.
And what we see. Okay, thank you. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
I hope you will pay attention to this and think about domestic violence as not just a family issue, because those ripples spread out to schools and the community and the next generation, and it is a community issue. And certainly, if you are in need of services, please contact Transitions. And if you know of someone expecting a second child, it's a great book, so take that opportunity as well. Thanks for watching.